Just testing the audio.
Do you want me to speak? Yes? Right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Good evening, one and all, and welcome to this meeting of the Licensing Committee on Wednesday, 20th of March 24. I am Councillor Dave Harris. I'm a councillor for the Beerchurch Ward, and I will be chairing this meeting this evening. A very warm welcome to the members of the public. You're always welcome here, and I'd be delighted to see a few over in the audience. It's great. At least we know that you're very keen and interested in the business of Colchester, so thank you for coming. To begin the meeting, though, there are a few matters of housekeeping. Action in the event of emergency. There are no practice alarms planned for this evening, so if an alarm sounds, please evacuate this town hall by going down the main staircase or the back staircase to the High Street and then to the car park behind the town hall in St Runwell Street. This meeting is being recorded for live broadcast over the internet via the council's YouTube channel, so any listeners, very welcome to you as well, and will also be available to view afterwards. Please, would speakers always use microphones at all times and speak directly into the microphone, as this activates the audio recording. Members of the committee may use electronic devices to access their meeting papers, and visitors are welcome to use mobile phones and other devices, including cameras, but please use them discreetly. Set them to silent, please, and do not use voice or camera flash functions. The provisions in the Constitution allow for timing of breaks to apply to this meeting, which means every 90 minutes or so a physical needs break. So if we run that long, you may see I have a little adjournment. There are toilets on every floor in the building and an induction loop for the hearing in this room. I will now ask members to introduce themselves and the attending officers to introduce themselves, starting on my left.
Thank you, Chair. Paul Donachie, Licensing, Community Safety and Safeguarding Manager.
Sarah White, Licensing Team Leader.
Alison Chapman, Licensing Officer.
Karen Booth, Licensing Officer.
Sam McLean, Councillor for Newtown and Christchurch.
Michelle Burrows, Councillor for Wivenhoe Ward.
Councillor Mick Spindler, Shrub End Ward.
Simon Appleton, Councillor for Highwoods Ward.
Roger Buston, Prettygate Ward.
Roger Mannion, Tiptree Ward.
Councillor Jeremy Hagan, representing Stanway Ward.
Councillor Carl Powling, Mersey and Pyfleet Ward.
Councillor Paul Smith, St Anne's and St John's Ward, substituting for Councillor King tonight.
Councillor Mark, Councillor for St Anne's and St John's Wards.
Matthew Evans, Democratic Services Officer.
Thank you very much, members and officers. Substitutions, I've noted item 2 that Councillor Paul Smith is substituting for Councillor King. All the other members are bona fide members of this committee, so thank you, members. Urgent items, number 3. There are no urgent items on the agenda. Item 4, declarations of interest, where councillors must publicly announce any item number, whether the interest is disclosable or not. So, are any members got any declarations of interest? No? Good. Thank you. Item 5, I'll invite the committee to confirm as a true record the minutes of the Licensing Committee held on the 17th of January 2024. Members, have I your agreement?
So moved.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Item 6, have your say. I've got 3 speakers and you're very welcome. I've got, first of all, Sean Moore, first of all. Sure, please do come forward, push the button. Once you start speaking, you will get 3 minutes and the Democratic Services team will let you know when you've got a final minute to go. Please feel free, we're listening and all ears. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Sean, I'm a taxi driver in Colchester. Now, when you first open the taxi licensing website, the first thing it says under taxi and private hire is all Hackney carriages and private hire vehicles that wish to operate in Colchester and their drivers must be licensed by the council. I'm sure you have heard of the Plymouth Act 1975. Basically, it stops out-of-town borough licensed taxi and private hire vehicles working in the borough. You would have to look into it and make a new bylaw so we could have this in a borough or maybe the whole of Essex. Every time I phone up and ask a question, the normal response is that Essex County Council or Highways deal with that. Maybe it's time Colchester City Council stopped being a non-metropolitan district and become a utilitarian authority. Currently, these out-of-town vehicles are using the bus lanes. They have applied to have their vehicles on the allowed list. Because I know private hire vehicles are not allowed to use the bus lanes in Chelmsford or Ipswich, that includes the local licensed private hire. Why are they allowed to use them here? Because this is probably the reason the taxis can't use the park and ride lane, because you allow private hire to use the bus lanes in Colchester. I've heard you have contacted Uber, asking them to clarification on why Uber are allowed to work here, and apparently they responded with "we're testing the market." You should really be asking Cambridge City Council why they're allowed to work here. I'll go back to my previous words, Plymouth Act 1975. If you don't want them here, and we don't want them here, make a new bylaw. You are the local authority, you can do this. The new Head Street rank, we have been informed that it will be 30 metres in total. Can we ask that it's all painted yellow as a taxi rank, but have the signs saying the last 80 metres is a loading bay between 8 and 6? Because if the rank is not done this way, it will become exactly like Queen Street rank, where we cannot apply for hire on it because we can't get on it. This should also be painted as a taxi rank. Can this be suggested to Essex County Council or Highways, or go back to my previous wording, unitary authority? I've just noticed today they've started putting a cycle lane where you have said it's supposed to be a taxi rank. We need CCTV for our ranks in the licence. In the licensing policy set out, it says protection of the public to safeguard and promote the welfare of children and vulnerable persons and the prevention of crime, the safety and health of the drivers. We've had many ongoing issues of drivers being threatened, so it's about time we put CCTV on the ranks to stop these incidents, or at least notify these individuals that they're being watched on these ranks. That has been done.
Sean, thank you very much. Very well said. Paul, did you want to respond?
I will respond and do my best to go through the points. Firstly, I don't know about the Plymouth Act, so I'm not going to pretend I do. And also, when it comes to bylaws, that's not my area. I don't have the power to create bylaws, so that would be a matter for perhaps committee to take further afield. Taxi ranks, I've looked into this, I was looking at it today. So private hire vehicles, each of the taxi rank stroke bus gates, bus gates and bus lanes have their own individual traffic regulation order. And it says there are exemptions in certain cases, which is taxis under the general definition and private hire vehicles, licensed private hire vehicles. It doesn't say licensed by whom. From experience when I was within the chauffeur industry, an example being licensed London chauffeured vehicles, private hire vehicles, would go to Oxford with guests, they would get a ticket. All they had to do was prove that they were a licensed private hire vehicle, and that was waived. So I am assuming we don't put those out-of-town ones on the white list, because you all get put onto a white list that goes to ECC, so you are automatically, hopefully, picked up as being correct. If an out-of-town vehicle uses it and ECC enforce it, because we don't, it's theirs, I would assume that they would be the ones that have to prove they're a licensed private hire vehicle, and that would be a matter for ECC, because it's their enforcement for bus lanes. Head Street, the information you had was the information we had as to how it was going to be set up under the new rank. And today was the first time I had heard otherwise, as in that the cycle lane was being painted on. I spoke to Payman directly today, and obviously we will go back to ECC and say, you provided us with this information. A, is it accurate? If it's not accurate, what steps are you taking to put what in place? Uber were in conversation with regards to a licence. What then happened was we received information from yourselves that there were Ubers in the area, the university and in town. I challenged Uber on this and said to them, if you are testing the market, it was my terminology, if you're looking to get a footprint, stop. And I've heard nothing from the trade since that there were Ubers still
There was
operating.
one yesterday.
Yeah, unfortunately, as I said, nothing from the trade has come to us since. I spoke to Payman, who told me that obviously Ubers were there, but
Well, we were told not to send anything more to you. You had enough information.
okay, but what I'm saying, so that moved on from that. So that's fine. Please send it in. We'll go back to them.
Yes.
What was it? Did I miss anything?
The painting.
Yeah, that's the ECC on the bus lane. So as I say, I want to know what ECC. But what we will do, is that piece of paper able to be copied or sent over with your suggestions?
Yeah.
Because I can forward that suggestion to ECC.
Well, I can just send it to the licensing
Yeah, perfect.
team thing, yeah.
Have I missed anything else, Sean? And if my team obviously want to jump in with more information than me, then feel free.
There's CCTV on ranks.
CCTV is a tricky one because obviously outside of licensing, I also do community safety. The issue with CCTV is, one, the cost of putting it on the ranks, and not just the ranks, any location. Then you've got 17 to 18,000 pounds a year maintenance costs, monitoring costs. Plus, you've got a certain limit. I think there's something like 300 cameras currently for Colchester, which are being monitored by 2 or 3 officers who also have other roles. So it may not prevent crime, it may simply capture evidence. So, and again, CCTV isn't a policy for the licensing committee, it's a wider council function, but I will feed all that back through A, community safety, B, licensing, to the head of public protection, and we'll have those conversations because he's my boss.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. Can you turn your microphone off? And thank you very much for bringing your questions. And if you could put your name and address and email on that, when you hand it over, you could get a written response and we can chase those up. If you need to come back at a future date, you're always very welcome. Okay. Thank you, Sean. Thanks for coming on.
Bylaws and that. Can any of these guys talk about any of that?
Bylaws, I would think that would be something that I wouldn't know about unless an officer somewhere knows how we can take one of those forward.
I don't know, and I'm not going to waffle and pretend I know, but what I will do is I'll make the inquiries with those with far greater democratic experience than myself.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Thanks for coming. Don't forget to hand the paper over, please. Thank you. Next, I've got Mr. Madakazi. Good evening, sir. Nice to see you again. You know the form. You've got 3 minutes, 2 minutes, and then you'll get a minute at the end. Push the button, Mr. Madakazi. You're very welcome.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for allowing me to come over here. Firstly, I condemn the issue that these drivers that are here say today in a democratic house. I'm not going to talk about the Uber thing. I'm going to talk about the matter that concerning us in this town. As a member in this town, let me say to the committee, I urge this committee today to honor their oath in office, to be truly honest when they're dealing with issues concerning this community. I don't agree with the issue of sanctioning somebody or put another certain community in a hard difficulties because you are claiming that you are serving the public. I want the committee to be truly honest when they're dealing with our matters, regardless who you are. That's all I want to say to this committee, as you are elected members of this town. I have nothing else to say. I'm not going to touch the Uber issue. It's more complicated than the most people can imagine. The Uber will come, of course. It's a democratic society. The competition will be there, whether maybe we like or not. But you can do whatever you can. But please, when you're dealing with our matters, can you be honest as you sign that oath of office? Thank you very much for everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Madakazi. I don't know if you've got anything to say to that, Mr. Donaghy, but as far as I'm concerned, all of the councillors here have got integrity, so I've got no issue with what was being said. I don't know whether you want to add to that.
Obviously, I don't wish to go into individual matters because obviously, but every investigation will be carried out to the best of our ability, following all the standards set for public service. And unfortunately, some people will not like the outcomes and may see that it's not been followed that way simply because the result wasn't the one they wanted. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. And all the councillors here are just for the listeners there. We're all bound by the Nolan principles, and I think that every councillor in this room knows that and knows how to conduct themselves. Thank you very much, Mr. Donny. My next speaker is Wayne Thompson. Come forward, Wayne. You've got 2 minutes. and
Evening.
then You'll get a minute at the end.
Okay, is there a councillor that represents Wivenhoe? Do you drive?
Yes.
Come across those two dangerous potholes?
Can we go through the chair, please?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
We'll go through the chair. I just wanted to highlight the potholes coming out of Wivenhoe. Yes. Extremely dangerous. The other point is, the Northern Approach Road, new bus lane going in. Will taxis and private hire be able to use it? If not, why? And why would Essex County Council or Highways dictate what they can put on the signage or anywhere around the town? So that's my second point. Third point is, Urbis Romani bus lane, paying passengers in my car are sitting there in a queue of traffic during rush hour asking me why I can't use that bus lane that's empty next to my vehicle. That's that's it for me.
A good point. And that any county council matters for potholes, they're directed to the right person. I don't know if Michelle wanted to say anything because you directly involved with Wivenhoe, but
they're pretty bad.
Councillor Michelle.
Thank you ever so much for coming, and thank you for your comments. And yes, I agree, the potholes into Wivenhoe are a danger, and they have been reported repeatedly and subsequently filled in and then come empty again by Councillor Mark Corey. If you did want to contact him directly to see what the latest update is, but you can see on his Facebook page many updates of him successfully having lobbied ECC to get some potholes filled up. It is an ongoing situation, as it is across the country, but we are doing our best, councillors in Wivenhoe.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. And can I ask Mr. Donaghy to answer the taxis in bus lane situation, please?
I don't wish to go down that it's an ECC Highways decision, because we all know it's an ECC Highways decision. What I would say is that we have asked them the question why they are different to other bus lanes. From what we understand, and we are waiting for final clarification, when I said earlier that there are specific traffic regulation orders with regards to the current bus lanes and bus gates within the town where there are exemptions, I think these are looked as clearways and therefore kept in a different status, but it's an ECC highway status. We are asking, and we will challenge on your behalf, because from my point of view, if in 90% of bus lanes, like taxis and hackney carrier and private hire vehicles can use them, what's the difference about the other 10% if it's going to speed up customer service, make you more efficient, etc., etc. The problem is, and it's a terrible answer, it's a highways issue which we don't have control over, but we are lobbying to see why it's that situation and what can be done to change it on your behalf. Ultimately, the decision and the power isn't mine or this committee's to give, but we're not just accepting it. We are asking what the difference is and why it's happening.
Could I ask to back Mr. Chunt? Can you let the trade know once you get an answer to that? Yes. So the trade will get informed. Thank you for bringing your question, Mr. Thompson. Thank you. And I've got another speaker now. Payman. Do come forward, please, sir. You've got 3 minutes. You push the button, you get 2, and then you get a final warning, a single bell to let you know you've got a minute left. Welcome.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Payman Oyar Hussain. I'm the chairman of the Hackney Association. I'm sorry I was late, so I couldn't hear everything. Just 2 quick points. One is regarding Uber in this town. That's been going on for a while now. It hasn't been going on the last couple of weeks. It's been going on months. And as far as I know, for a fact, they have not got a license to operate in this town, but they're still operating in this town. They're still working in this town, and one of the drivers saw one of them yesterday. So I just want to know is, if it's illegal, why is it still nothing been done about it? And if it is illegal, I don't mind a competition. Can you just let us know about it? And regarding the gentleman who said that everyone should be able to work, if it's like that, so I can go and work in London then. It's just not, it's just nonsense to me. Do you know what I mean? So why are you licensed? Why are you licensed? You got cars coming from Cambridge and working for a minicab here, and that's a fact. Sorry, from Wolverhampton. They pay £90 a year, and I've phoned up myself and I found out about it. £90 a year for a plate, £90 a year, yep, and they're working in this town. What happens if something goes wrong? Who's going to get the blame for it? Coaches and taxi drivers. And why is it most of our drivers are paying between £400 and £500 a year for the plates, and we have to do everything ourselves. We have to send everything to the council. And I remember a long time ago, it was never like this. We would make an appointment, fill everything in, and they would do the rest for us. But my point is not the money, it is the way it's been done. So I phoned up Wolverhampton Council about 3 weeks ago, and I told them, you got drivers working here, is that legal? They said, yes, it's fine, as long as 51% of their work is done in Wolverhampton. This is exactly what they told me, yeah? So are they doing 51% work in Wolverhampton? Absolutely not. They're not doing that. So anyway, that was my point.
Thank you for your questions.
Thank you.
Paul, do you want to respond to some of that? I think you can help with some of this, can't you?
Possibly.
Yes. Yes.
Whoever asked me a question, run off.
Please.
I just thought it'd be nice to answer you personally, Payman. Yeah, we've already spoken. So, Uber. Right, they are not licensed in Colchester. First question. First answer, they're not licensed here. However, cross-border taxi policy, they are allowed to operate. What Uber have done is they have done a licensing area for their drivers. And they basically made East Anglia all the way, Great Yarmouth, Norwich, all the way down, basically up to the M25 as the East area. You weren't here for the earlier answer where obviously recently when we received information from the drivers that Uber were operating here, I challenged them and basically said, you're not licensed here. Now it's not illegal for them to operate because cross-border, and we as a council, as a committee, well the committee, not we because I'm not part of the committee and the officers on behalf of the committee have written to the Department of Transport, the Minister, to actually challenge cross-border licensing, because it doesn't allow local control of local driver authorities. We are all in agreement that local drivers, all drivers in Colchester should be licensed, because if there is an issue, we will address, well, the committee and through the officers will address it ASAP.
Okay, yes.
Sorry. Yeah, so if we, as I say, if we get a problem, if one of them, I'm not saying they're going to do it, if they cause problems, who is it going to go down to? We're going to get blamed for it. Coaches are taxi drivers.
Right, well, no, in so much as Wolverhampton have a model of operation. They have a large enforcement team, massive enforcement team, which they're even talking about setting up a London-based enforcement team due to the number. If there is an issue reported to us of a Wolverhampton driver, unfortunately, it is Wolverhampton enforcement that have to deal with it. That's the regulations. We can't do anything currently to challenge that status quo, but as in we can't do anything now. However, it is being taken forward to government to say this policy is not fit for purpose. That's that first step. So Uber are not licensed here, but I've made it clear to their directors that they're not to operate here if possible because they're not licensed, but I have got no direct power to stop them. And what was the second subject we spoke?
So it's regarding when I phoned up Wolverhampton Council, they told me they have to do, if they're licensed here, they have to do 51% of their work in Wolverhampton. And they're not doing that because they're here. So there's no way it's profitable for them to work there, 51%, and then come up down here. So what they're doing, they're just being here. That's it, finish.
That is new information to us because when the it's a total of 4 drivers, as I understand. When the 4 drivers began operating for the operator here, we visited the operator within days to establish were they following all the policies. And we looked at the Wolverhampton policies and procedures, and there was no mention of 51%. So that is new. So we will again take that away and fight, because when we went through the policy, there was no specific figures. Otherwise, we would have been all over that.
Sorry, can I just say something? If it's like that, then I could go to Wolverhampton and find friend's address and put my address, and I'll only be paying £90 a year for my my yearly plate, and it would save me another £110. How is that going to work out?
It would be a matter for every individual driver what they choose to do. What I would say is, if you do that and there's an enforcement issue, you're off to Wolverhampton to explain yourself to the committee. Your vehicle examination, Wolverhampton potentially, all the issues around. But we cannot turn around and say to you what you as an individual driver should or shouldn't do. What I will say to you is that there's a lot of very strong feeling across all licensing committees in the UK, other than Wolverhampton, about their model. And it could very well be, depending on levelling up and those sorts of things, that someday they find that actually it's an unreasonable model to maintain, and suddenly 23 or 32,000, however many drivers, find themselves unlicensed in a heartbeat because Wolverhampton don't do what they're doing anymore. But I'm not Mystic Meg, I can't predict what will happen in the future, but it is something that's being looked at, and there's a lot of people against it.
So thank you for your questions, and just to reassure you that Councillors Michelle Burrows, Roger Buston and I have already written on behalf of the committee to the Ministry of relevant Minister about this and objected, because we feel the same as you do and it gives us worries. And can I just encourage you to write to the licensing officers? Don't wait for a committee meeting. By all means, bring it up at any time, by email, by writing in, so that those matters can be dealt with properly for you, so you'll feel you're listened to, please. Is that okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm not allowed to say anything else, am I? For 30 seconds? Am I allowed to say anything, or shall I? Just for 30 seconds. Is that all right?
Just finish.
So I've been asking for this, and I know Paul is trying to help out. We've been asking since it used to be Attic, and now it's changed the name, Trilogy. We've been asking for marshals because we don't feel safe at night. So they've now come in. One of them tells us about 1 in the morning, on a Friday, Saturday morning, till about 3, and that's it. And then on a Saturday night, which is really busy night, so one person turns up at 2, then we got few of them turn up at 3 o'clock in the morning, but no one there before that. And as far as I know, to have the license, they were supposed to provide us with marshals. That's what I'm going to say, and it hasn't happened.
Is that public?
Thank you.
After our previous conversation, Karen, I believe, attended Trilogy and spoke to the management there and reiterated their responsibilities under the licence to provide the marshal. So if it's still an ongoing issue, then we'll obviously have a further conversation. Sorry, Chair, can I just say really earlier, rather than always perhaps having to wait for a committee and then having these short periods, Sarah was explaining that previously there was an opportunity where the trade met with the management from my team prior to myself 3-4 times a year. So I would like to bring that back in. So we'll look for suitable dates, publish it, and perhaps either quarterly or at least every 4 months, so 3 times a year, representatives of the trade or whoever wants to turn up, and we'll have a meeting with them and take all your concerns and try and address things on a more regular face-to-face basis, rather than having these particular committee meetings, if that would be something the trade would be interested in.
Thank you. That's great to hear that, and I think reinstating that would be really good. I think that the trade having a dialogue with the officers would be superb. So thank you for that. On to item 7, which is now the vehicle age restriction. What we're discussing here, members, is the consultation responses, and I'd invite Sarah White to introduce the report and give you some feedback on the consultation. Oh, you've got to have your say. Yes, we have. Sorry. Thank you for that. We've got to have your say on this policy. Justin Plain? And this on this item, Justin, yes? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Justin Plain. I represent the executive private hire business. My business is based in Great Hawksley. My question was put to the licensing team in September 2020, just after the pandemic, but unfortunately I never received a response to this. My main query is regarding the licensing age restrictions on vehicles, not so much the exit restriction of a vehicle, but the entry age restriction. My analogy is I can buy a 3 or 4 year old car with 200,000 miles on the clock and I can license it. But I can't buy a 6 or 7 year old car with 30,000 miles on the clock and license it. What is the policy line on this issue? I did bring this up 3.5 years ago, but I never got a response from John Ruder on it. My second point, new drivers into the business. We're having problems recruiting new drivers, whether it be if they're from the area or not. You apparently have a new knowledge test for new drivers coming into, I presume, Hackney Carriage and private hire. During the knowledge test, they're asked to know areas of the town that for the chauffeur industry is completely unnecessary. They need to work mainly on a national basis. They don't need to know where pubs and clubs are, or really any particular area of the town itself. So my question is, how can we make this somewhat more lenient to get certain people into my sector of the business? That's everything. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. Thanks, Sarah.
To respond to those points now, Chairman?
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
In relation to, taking the last point first, in relation to the knowledge test, the new best practice guidelines, which are informing our review of the taxi policy, do draw a distinction between the knowledge in the way that Hackney think London cabs and perhaps private hire vehicles. So it's a matter for members to decide when we bring the policy back to you, which will be some point in the new municipal year, Chairman. So it'll be for members to consider whether they want to make any changes to that policy, having in mind to the best practice. The other proposal to remove the entry restrictions, that's the subject of the report tonight, and that's the the report we're just going to discuss.
Okay, so thank you for that. So as I understand it, in the new year, starting from May onwards, there'll be a new committee looking at a report over the second issue. That's taken the last November. There was it November best practice came out from government that says this is how we expect the business to be administered. And the second point that you made, we're now discussing tonight. So you'll get a decision on that tonight in this report. Is that okay?
Yes, fine.
Thank you very much.
The only other point I wanted to make, but I think you're about to discuss this anyway, is about the colour of black vehicles, but I presume you're already on that point anyway, yes. So that's fine. So, okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your question. Okay, Sarah, carry on with the report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman. So this report's coming to members tonight, setting out the responses received to the Council's consultation on the proposal to remove the age restrictions on licensed vehicles. And to be clear, that means age restrictions coming into as first licensed, in addition to the end date, the 12-year end date for licensed vehicles currently. The responses are set out in Appendix 1 of the report, Chairman. I think members will see that they are broadly in favour of the removal of restrictions, and so the recommendation coming to you is that the age restrictions be removed. I don't have anything further to add, Chairman.
Members, any wish? Right, Mr. Councillor Buston.
Thank you very much indeed, Chairman. Yes, I agree with the proposals in the officer's paper, and I would be the first one to put my hand up and propose that is adopted. I agree with what the gentleman, Mr. Payne, has just said, and I think it's about time we got on with this and did this. When many years ago licensing considered this point, the difference in cars at that stage was palpable. Cars now, 10 or more years on, are far more durable and capable than they were 10 years ago. They are far safer. And it is appropriate that we, as a committee, should be going with the times. And I think the time now merits that to be looked at, and I'm glad it has, and I'm glad it's sparked such a lot of comment from the trade, because it shows that they're in support of this as well. I don't see any difficulty with this, in particular because, frankly, no one is going to want to drive a tatty vehicle, because tatty vehicles will not attract custom. So it's in the driver's own interest to maintain their vehicles properly, whether or not there was a strict inspection regime, as there is. So I think this is now a no-brainer, and I'm happy to propose that we get on with it and approve it. I so propose.
Thank you, Councillor Ruston. Any other members wish to say a few words? Have we got a second? Oh, Councillor Smith.
So yes, I too would say I would support this, and I see there is evidence of this helping improve the environment as well, in that new vehicles eat up a lot of resources. Clearly there's an issue that older vehicles could be more pollutant, but again we've got strict restrictions on that, on the MOT tests and what have you. So in general I see this would be something that would be good for the environment and good for business and culture, so it would have my support and I would be happy to second it.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor McLean?
Yeah, I agree with everything.
Good.
I'll
Okay.
support it too. Thanks.
Okay. So as far as we can say, I mean, the vehicles will still have a annual or regular check as required by the policy. So it's not that we're putting unsafe car, and all the taxis I see every day, they're always clean and tidy. They always look good. So that's your business. So you would, wouldn't it? You know, so as far as I'm concerned, I've got a proposal and a second. All members in favour, please. So moved. Thank you very much. Thank you. So that's item 7. The next one is item 8, which is the plate exemption. And I think you're introducing this one, Mr. Donaghy, the plate exemption for the Hackney and private hire licensing policy to be amended.
Yes, thank you, Chair. The purpose of the report is to see whether we should amend the current policy to permit private hire vehicles used exclusively for chauffeur work to be black. We would very much recommend that you would approve for consultation purposes the amendment to the policy to allow that change for vehicles that are used exclusively in chauffeuring. This has been raised by the trade and some members of the committee to address their operational need. The appropriate conditions would be put in place to ensure they can only be used in relation to chauffeur work, which will not adversely impact the safety of the public. Obviously, the other alternative is to leave the policy as it is. Obviously, the issue originally was because we didn't want to have the confusion between the Hackney carriages, which can apply for hire and stand on the rank. However, the distinction can be managed if we restrict the use of these additional black vehicles purely to chauffeuring. And they would not be used as private hire vehicles in other circumstances, and obviously we'd have exemptions with regards to plates. Obviously, I would recommend that to you, Chair, and the committee.
Members, Councillor Buston.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, again, I'm happy to propose this, but can I suggest that, bearing in mind the comments that were made earlier, again from Mr. Plain, we try and conflate this policy with the drivers of said vehicles, such that we can wrap it up in a single item, rather than having to go round that boy 2 or 3 times. Thank you.
Yes, well, obviously, Councillor Buston, with regards to the best policy practice, as you've seen in the document previously, if we can do it in a one go, we will. What I wouldn't wish to do is obviously slow the trade down, where we could make a simple amendation to colour, whilst considering perhaps a bigger option. But if we can do the two at the same time, obviously that would be beneficial.
Yes, thank you very much indeed. I was interested to note in the wording that we're now going to take it out for consultation. I have to say that I was a little surprised at that, because I thought this would be quite such a simple thing that we wouldn't need to do that, but I will take advice.
Consultation issue.
It's obviously, as we wrote before, it's a change to a long-standing policy, and it's quite a big change, because obviously the Hackney carriage gentlemen and ladies have specifically got different expectations on them, and obviously have the black vehicle as their default position, and therefore we felt it was something that perhaps the trade should have more of a comment on. But obviously I would also be guided by the committee, who are the decision makers.
Thank you. The only point that I would suggest to that, in the interest of brevity, in that we have a good number of members of the trade here, perhaps while they're here we might like to ask them what they think.
Hands up. I would guess they'd support, because the consultation at the moment is, the recommendation is in the red ink in here for anybody who's read the report. So that's what you're being asked to take forward.
Yes, I can't actually see that there is actually any competition between the hackney trade and the chauffeur business. It's a completely separate item. And that the question of whether or not a licence for a person should be restricted is really the issue in that, I think. Thank you.
So it's been moved. Any other comments, please, members?
Can I just say, as a private hire, it doesn't affect us as we don't do executive work, and it doesn't be a problem with
Well, I don't think the audience is here, so it's best if you said that on the mic, if you don't mind.
Regarding the executive cars, as pub for cabs in Colchester, private hire, doesn't affect us what colour cars executive, because we don't deal with that.
Noted. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Chair, we have the chair of the Hackney Carriage Association, Payman, still here. I don't know if he's got an initial view.
Yes. You're in support? Yes, please, because otherwise the members at home can't hear you.
Yeah, that's fine. Cabs have different colour, can have whatever they want, unless it's black. With the chauffeur driving, if it's black, I don't think it should really be any issue for us. What more issue is when they're driving, no signs on the door to say they are, like Hackneys or anything like that. We got our own signs to say we are Hackney plate and we're black. But as long as they haven't got a sign like that, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can assure you that the nature of the chauffeur business is that they will not want any markings on their vehicle that indicate they're a Hackney carriage or private hire vehicle or anything else. So I can assure you they won't be marked up in competition.
All right, thank you.
So I've got a proposal from Councillor Buston. Any other comments? Thank you very much. Any other comments on it before we close?
Chair, I think we just need to get on and actually get it changed, in my opinion.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So got a proposal and a second. All those in favour, please. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's agreed. Which brings us on to item number 9. Mr. Evans.
Thanks, Chair. This is the standard item on the agenda. It's a formality, really. This is the last meeting of the new municipal year. We'll roll into a new work programme for the next municipal year, which the committee will be asked to approve at its first meeting. So unless there is anything that you want to suggest be brought forward as part of that, I have nothing to add on this. Thank you.
Councillor Buston.
CCTV in taxis, please.
Thank you. Any other issues? Suggestion for the work programme? No? Okay, thank you very much. So that's the end of the meeting. But before I close, there's a couple of things I want to say. It's been a delight to chair this committee for the past year. And I know that previous chairs have experienced the work of this committee, and it's great work that it does. It tends to get on with the work, and the officers are brilliant. The trade is great to work with. So I'd encourage the trade to carry on talking to the council about their problems so we can work together. So this is my final meeting, obviously, until election, and whether I'm back on this committee next year, I don't know, but I'd like to be. But members, I wanted to just say before I close the meeting, in our midst we have a gentleman who's done over 30 years service to this council, been mayor a couple of times with as far as with his good lady wife and his own right. Councillor Hogg, I want to say to you, it's been a pleasure to know you, sir. Over 20 years I've been a councillor. I know you've been for 34 years, but I want to thank you for your time on this committee and express our gratitude for all that you've brought to this committee in your pragmatic and thoughtful way and the experience you brought. Many residents in your area have actually said to me how great a man and councillor you are in your own ward, sir, so I want to thank you for that. I don't know, any other members want to have a say? Councillor Smith?
Thank you very much. Yes, I think the work that Mike, my ward colleague, has done over the past, well, it's nearly 40 years now, isn't it, Mike, since 38 years as a councillor. Clearly, the secret of a long career on this council is to be on the licensing committee. If only I'd known about that sooner, I wouldn't have made mistakes. But the knowledge, the expertise and the dedication over 38 years. And I think you were working out how many council meetings in those 38 years you've missed. And we think we've come up with 5 meetings in 38 years. That is a phenomenal record for any individual councillor, and I would commend the work that Mike has done. I've not been to the licensing committee before. This is the first time I've been here, and I'm delighted to be here for Mike's final appearance, a real stalwart of the council. So thank you very much, Mike, for all you've done on this council.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Who do I have next? Councillor Michelle Burrows.
Thank you very much. Earlier on in Have Your Say, I think it was Mr Madakasi who asked and implored all councillors to be honest and true. And I don't think we could find a better example of honesty and truth within our councillors, and it has been an honour and a privilege to be part of the same colour team as Councillor Hogg. He has worked tirelessly for all his residents, and all of his residents and his ward are in a far better position because of his dedication. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Councillor McLean. Councillor McLean, I think you're next.
Yeah, I don't know Mike very well, but on the few occasions we have exchanged words, Mike has been very supportive of me and only had kind things to say. So thank you, Mike, for your service for longer than I've been alive.
There you are. Councillor Buston.
Chair, thank you very much indeed. I echo the words that other members have mentioned. It's been a privilege to work with Michael over so many years, particularly on this committee. I came on this committee by accident when I joined the council 20 odd years ago, and they were trying to find somewhere for me to go where I'd be quiet. Didn't work. And I came on the heady days when Councillor Crowe was with us, and Mike was here even then, and I do remember the two of them. I was thinking, gosh, they're awfully stern. But it turns out that that was not so. They were actually very thoughtful about what they did, and they set the scene, certainly for me, in how I approach this committee, which I've tried to be on every year I've been lucky enough to be elected. The scene is set by the committee being as professional as it can be within a context that its members are required to be elected members of, by necessity, different political parties. And one of the things that Chairman David said many, many years ago, and I think he's absolutely right, is when you come into this committee, you leave your political handbag outside the door. And I think he's absolutely right. The council has a couple of judicial, quasi-judicial functions which are essentially professional. And that's actually what members are here to do. We're not here to fight about what colour shirt we wear or what tribe we belong to. It's actually to provide a professional service for the people of Colchester, and the service we provide is essentially one of safety. And Michael, how he's gone about his business with this committee has exemplified that over many, many years. And I think it'll take us a long time to find someone who is going to serve so diligently and well for so long. Colchester has been very lucky, Michael, to have you in this position for so long. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, members. So I've got to present a little presentation to you, Mike.
How do I get the feeling I've been ambushed?
Mike, this is a bucket. That is a hydrangea, my wife tells me, and she says it'll have yellow flowers when it comes. So you can put it in your garden and think of us. Think of us when you grow it in your garden.
Bless you, Chairman, but if I may just say a few words.
Please do.
As I say, I'm feeling I've been ambushed. I don't know what happened in 1986, but that's when I first walked into this room and became a member of this committee. It's been an absolute privilege to serve with about 22 different chairmen and about 250 different councillors over that time. What can I say? We've been blessed with councillors who have come to the meetings for all the right reasons, as has been explained. But what I want to put on record, having chaired some particularly hairy hearings myself, along with the present chairman, we are blessed with officers in this council, and we have been since 1986, who are exceptional, who always step up to the plate to help the chairman, however difficult the decisions and the hearings have been. And we have had some really hairy hearings that we've needed support on. And I have to say, if it wasn't for my new friend, Mr. Parkinson, I wouldn't be leaving. I'm leaving under duress, not because I want to go, but because I have to go. And I just bless you all. Thank you so much for being supportive to not just myself, but to her indoors, who obviously has served 25 years beside me. It's going to be a new beginning for both of us. I'm planning a trip to the holiday of a lifetime. After 38 years, I think I deserve a holiday.
Certainly.
So thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members. Thank you, officers, for everything that you've done.
Members of the public, you can see the love and affection we've got from Mike, who's a senior member on this council. So you've just witnessed the exit of a wonderful man. So thank you for all you've done for Colchester, Michael. Thank you. The meeting is now closed.